Hi, this is Mike Maloney, and something very big happened last week with regards to the manipulation of the price of precious metals. Both gold and silver have been manipulated for a long, long time. I wrote about it in my book back in 2005 or 6 when I was writing my book. I studied a bunch of the evidence that was compiled by a few of the people that have been battling the precious metals price manipulation schemes for years and even decades. And first I'm going to get to this. The Deutsche Bank confirmed that the silver market had been manipulated and that they were one of the manipulators. Back in July of 2014, an investor filed a lawsuit against Deutsche Bank, Bank of Nova Scotia, normally referred to as Scotia Bank, HSBC, and later added UBS to the lawsuit. They were the defendants in a multi-billion-dollar market rigging scheme. And it was filed in New York District Court, and this was regarding the London silver fix. Now, the silver fix and gold fix, there was a group of bankers that would sit in a room, or they would do this by email or texting. Originally, they would all sit in a room, and they would sort of, it's like playing a game of poker. They all sort of bid prices and stuff, and they try to establish a fixed price for the rest of the day or a certain time period. There was an AM fix and a PM fix. But I call it a fix because it's like when you fix a horse race, when you illegally make it so that your horse will win, or a particular horse will win, so that you can make a side bet and clean up on it. So that's what the silver fix and gold fix were. They were fixing the price so that, if you are a big investment bank and you have a seat on this board and you have a good idea of what the outcome is going to be on the fix, you know what the price is going to be, you can make a bet before the price gets fixed, and then after you can close that bet out once the price is announced to everybody, and you get to clean up. And these people were doing this for years. Now, there are people like Theodore Butler, Ted Butler of Butler Research. He's the world's expert on the silver price manipulation. And for gold, there's the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, or GATA. That is headed up by Bill Murphy, who I spoke with today, and Chris Powell. They've sort of become friends of mine over the years, and Ed Steer, another friend of mine. And they have been doing this for many, many years. Back in 2005, they produced something called Gold Rush 21. I attended this conference that was held up in Dawson, Canada, where the Yukon Gold Rush was. Yukon, Canada. This is way up in the Arctic Circle. Little tiny gold rush town. It was a great conference, very entertaining. My hat's off to Bill and Chris for producing this thing. But when I was there, there were a number of speakers, Bill Murphy and Chris Powell. Hugo Salinas Price from Mexico. He was absolutely captivating. But John Embry showed up with a whole bunch of copies of a report that he and Andrew Hepburn had compiled for Sprott Asset Management called Not Free, Not Fair. And I took this home with me, and when I started writing my book, it was part of the reference material, along with a whole bunch of information that James Turk, the author of The Collapse of the Dollar and How to Profit from It, had compiled. And I came to the conclusion, and Ted Butler's information, but anyway, I came to the conclusion that gold and silver were absolutely manipulated, and that was the reason that I was going to invest in them, is because they had been artificially suppressed. Just like under the Bretton Woods system, gold was being artificially suppressed by governments, and they lost control of it over gold, and it exploded from $35 an ounce to $850. If it hadn't been suppressed, it slowly would have climbed until the markets balanced out. But the suppression caused this big explosion in price. Now, Ed Steer writes about this on a regular basis, and he also has a very good column that he does daily. So if you want to know what's happening in the gold and silver markets, I highly suggest that you visit Ed's site, edsteergoldandsilver.com, and poke around a little bit, and you may want to subscribe. The same goes for Theodore Butler, and I would support the people over at GATA. They have done a spectacular job for decades now. But what is interesting is the admission of the silver market manipulation led to the admission that they rigged gold prices also, which has led to billion-dollar lawsuits being filed, and Deutsche Bank, as part of its settlement, is going to be turning over all of this information, the emails and texts and so on, where they are conspiring with the other banks to set the price. And if they made anything off this, then they're guilty. And the very fact that they're settling says that they are most likely guilty. And so that means the others in the silver and gold fix at the time are also guilty. So this is really big. But as Ed Steer pointed out to me, this is a civil lawsuit, and that this really won't mean that much until a criminal lawsuit is brought to bear. What's going to happen here, there will be some settlement, and these banks will most likely get off for pennies on the dollar. In other words, if they made a buck, they're going to pay out pennies on that buck that they made in profit by cheating people back to the people they cheated. There needs to be a criminal prosecution here, and what we need to start seeing is that the fines and penalties exceed the profits that these banks made. When we saw the outcome of the 2008 global financial crisis and the few lawsuits and the very few prosecutions that happened after that, nobody was ever, they would make $1 billion and they would pay a few $1 million in fines. And it never really added up. What it adds up to is a good business model for the banks. Just keep on breaking the law as long as it's profitable. So that's my take on this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with others. Thanks a lot for listening. I'll talk with you next time.